Peace, 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 peace and blessings. Welcome to yet another edition of Royalty with Saran. And I am your host. For those of you who have joined whether it's the King's Court or Queen Things before, you know that it was a fire episode. And we have ventured out to do the remarkable by combining both the kings and the queens on one platform for one conversation. And so you already know it's going to be explosive. Of course, get your bags ready to collect all the gems because it's going to be a really powerful conversation. Now, with regards to what I do at the Wellness Queens or what we do at the Wellness Queens, we focus on the wellness of our people. And oftentimes we mistake wellness for health. Wellness is the state of your being. Our relationships play a critical role in the way in which we experience life. And so for that reason, it falls directly in line with what we do here. It's very important for us to have healthy relationships with each other, to get the feedback and the insight from persons who have been there and done that and have somehow mastered the skill in some level. And so for that reason, that's why I have conversations like this. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Much gratitude for everybody who's joining on Facebook, for everybody coming in on Zoom. Greetings, greetings. A powerful conversation awaits. And as you can see, it's just me on the screen because I wanted to introduce everybody by themselves, bringing them in one by one so you can take your time to really feast on the power that's coming in. And so today I'm going to start with a sister, a friend, somebody very close and dear to my heart. She is, when I tell you, a powerful queen in a pint-sized body. But for the years that I've lived in Indiana, and she was my neighbor directly across the street. This is the first time she's joining us for this conversation. But when I tell you, my girl saturated with power. You're looking at woman. Help me welcome to the stage for the first time on this conversation. That is Jua. Come on in, Jua.
Hello, everyone.
Greetings. How are you?
I'm well. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good stuff. And then we're going to move into the king now. We're going to start with somebody who came in last conversation, and he came in, and just like his name represents, he came in with pure fire, delivered the gems, and it was a powerful conversation because of his contribution as well. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. There is there's a podcast called Four Elements United. If you haven't plugged in, plug in. He is 25% of that group. He is fire. Welcome to the stage, Mr. Fireman.
Great introduction. Thank you so much.
Greetings, King.
Greetings.
How things?
Blessed, no complaints.
Good stuff. And we're going to move into Queen again now. So we're going to bring to the stage the owner of Empress Yoni Love. She has a business here in Antigua, and her focus is on vaginal steaming, anal steaming, and things of that nature. She also makes herbal products as well. Welcome, my sister and my friend, coming in with all the light and ting. Nadine, where are you?
Greetings, family.
Greetings. How are you doing?
I am doing well.
Good stuff. And we're gonna move King again now. Ras Isern. What should I say about Ras Isern? He came for all of the conversations that we had for King's Court, and my guy come shooting shots. He is somebody who's very passionate about African history and all the good stuff. For those of you who are not following him, he does have a YouTube channel, and I'll have him tell you more about the YouTube channel. I think it's kind of in hiatus at the moment, but that's something that you should definitely plug into. Ras Isern, Way a day. You're muted, King.
Sorry.
Greetings.
Greetings to all ones. I to be here again. Fire. Blaze it up, King. Yes, I. And of course, well, Joa, is that the name?
Yes.
Respect Queen, nice to meet you. And of course, Nadine, we were on a hike this morning, so I don't know it's good. We've been reasoning all along. So yeah, everything is well blessed. And just Ivy to be here again in the bill, you know.
Alrighty. Peace. Thank you. And now to a firecracker. She was here for both of the conversations that we had with the queens. Please help me welcome the owner and operator of Guilty Consumptions. And of course, if you have followed the conversation, you now know that her entire business is now 100% plant-based. So when you're talking about things like your red velvet cake and all the good stuff that you love from, regular eating, my girl got you covered. Come on in, queen. What's good, Ashanti?
I am so happy to be here. You called me a firecracker. Wow. I don't know if to feel I don't know if to feel blessed by that. But I'm humble. Thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here, of course. I like that you brought the guys and the girls together. So I'm excited about this because, we always have one perspective and I watch the Kings. So I know I'm ready today. Let's have this conversation, guys.
Good stuff. And I just want to say again, congratulations, Queen. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Please give my
Thank you so much.
The King. All right.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Who is missing? And next up we have Gavin. Gavin is he has a beautiful flowing conversation that he has on Facebook. For those of you who are not following him, his name is Gavin Crump. Please, his daily posts are just so beautiful and uplifting. Please welcome to the stage King number 3, Gavin.
Greetings, everyone.
What's up, King?
Okay, pretty good. It's a lazy Sunday.
Huh?
It's a lazy Sunday.
Lazy Sunday sounds good. And then who is missing? My sister. Now, for those of you who know, we're in detox mode right now with Plant Power Detox. It's the July cycle, and nobody on here has been to the class that she had on Friday. Let me tell you, my thigh is still burning because my girl did not play with the squats. And as usual, full of life, full of vibrancy, very energetic. Please welcome the Queen, Janosha.
Blessings to everyone. Hello. Grateful to be here.
Peace. And last, you're doing good, Janosha?
I'm great.
Let me tell you, my thighs burn for real.
That
section in the song when you were going down, I was like, oh, have mercy on my thighs.
Yeah.
It's not the mega knees, it's the Janosha knee.
Oh my.
All right, now last but not least, he is the other 25% of 4 Elements United. He is near and dear and rooted in my heart and my spirit. I want that for those of you who watched the last episode with the Kings, you know that he wasn't wind, he was literally lava. And I have no doubt that it's going to be, bombshell tonight again. And I want to introduce King of Kings, Wind. Where are you?
Peace and blessings, everybody.
Peace. Everybody looking good. Everybody feeling good. Yeah, let's get cracking. So, as I mentioned before, it's so important for us to have these conversations because I think too often the narrative for Black relationships are dictated by social media. You put on, it's whether we want to admit it or not, it's a way of programming us. You consistently see dysfunctional relationships. You consistently hear dysfunctional views. Then it gets embedded in you if you're not grounded in something. And like I always say, either you program yourself or somebody gonna program you for you. So I think it's important to have these conversations so we can put this out in the atmosphere because it's so needed. Okay, so I don't know where to start with you all. And I do want this to be completely interactive. I think the trouble that I had last episode with the Kings was that I just wanted to be an observer. I literally wanted to be pushing fire emojis in the comment section and just observe as the gems just flow all over us, you know? So we're gonna start with which one? I think we dived, we really had a good conversation on intimacy with the queens. However, I didn't ask the kings this question. So I'll start, let me see how we're going to do this. I'm going to have to call everybody. Fire, I'm going to start with you.
Let's go.
When you think of intimacy, what comes to mind? Because I think too often we think of the man's interpretation of intimacy just being sex. What
Yeah.
say? What's your
Actually, for me, intimacy is about being seen. It's about being gotten, seen and gotten in the appropriate frame or the appropriate context. And what I mean by that is for somebody to see me as my divine self, for somebody to see the God in me, doesn't necessarily have to be a male-female exchange. It could be of energy. It could be brother to brother, right? Like Brother Ross, Brother Wynn, these brothers I've known. And so it's about being seen in context. So when somebody is experiencing me as my highest self, intimacy is present.
got you, got you. I Saran, you want to
Yes,
add?
well, also, yeah, I have a more, broader definition for intimacy, as you suggest, same way. To me, intimacy is, it includes, what Fire says as well, somebody that know you beyond seeing you that kind of way, somebody that will know you in a way that, let's say, for example, someone will come and say, okay, this guy says so, you can manfully say, that doesn't sound like what this person would say. You know them like that, close like that. And to me, intimacy, includes all those things, really. You understand? So, I mean, I'm the kind of guy, well, I'm a Pisces. They say our side naturally have this kind of romantic kind of vibes. Intimacy for me can be like, me and the queen laying down. She's in my arm and we have a book before us and we're reading something that's really healthy and irie, and just, bonding in that way, not necessarily sexual act and so forth, So,
Got you.
yeah.
Got you. Thank you so much. I wanted to say, Gavin, when I'll go to you.
Intimacy is, like the other brother said, it's a closeness, a very unique closeness that individuals share together. Um, it's a place where both parties or whatever parties are involved, share vulnerability and share authenticity together. That allows them to be very, very tight and close knit. It allows them to see one another very clearly and be with one another in a very, very special way.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wynn.
Gavin, what do you have? Intimacy. What does that mean to you?
I think intimacy is when you're fully exposed to someone, um, without ears, without social norms getting in the way, when you can fully bear spirit, I would like to say, to someone in a safe context.
Okay. Joa, do you have anything to add to that? I know I didn't get to have that conversation with you.
Yeah, well, I'll just add that for me, intimate time is defined by the time that two people can spend where it's quiet or uninterrupted, you know, um, still, forms of isolated time, exclusive time, um, anywhere where a real conversation or just energy can be directly exchanged. You know,
Yeah.
in an environment that has less, less activity, less motion, just more of an exchange between the parties.
Yeah.
I'd say that's intimate, whether it be, two sister friends or, you know, lovers or mom and child or visiting a grandparent and being able to have that time where you can listen to a story or, they can take their time getting to any point or any, relevant or irrelevant thought that just comes to mind, but they can share it uninterrupted, or, that opportunity to be, vulnerable with, a stranger, sitting on a bus stop, yet, it's quiet and still and it's just the two of you. So intimate to me is just that direct exchange between parties.
Got you. Got you. So I want to say peace and blessings to everybody on Facebook who commented. Tika, peace and blessings, beautiful. Sergeant, how are you? Ferguson, big up. Goddess, thank you for joining. I'm happy we were able to make you smile. Sharian, ain't no lie. Walking up the steps difficult after that aerobic class. I'm just saying. Lioness, I'll see you tomorrow. So now let's go. We're gonna go into a part of it we discussed on Queen Things before, the notion of submission. I know with the push of the whole narrative over the independent woman and all that good stuff or bad stuff or unhealthy dysfunctional stuff that comes with it. Either which way, I do want to ask for everybody's opinion on submission. Who do I want to start with? Janosha, you want to give that a go?
See, I mean, submitting. I think anyone who, or any woman who, I can only take it from the woman's perspective, any woman who decides to submit to a man is not just submitting to his flesh or what he can do, but to his higher self. A man should be working on that or should have, how to express, should have enlightenment towards his higher self. And once a woman sees that in him, I think that is what she should submit to. That means that he is working to become the best version of himself for him, for his woman, for his family. And that is what a woman should submit, not just, worldly things or
Not the carnal stuff.
exactly the things that a lot of women are afraid to submit to now because they don't really understand what that means. So yeah, that's my view.
Yes. Okay. Empress, Yoni Love, go ahead. I know you had a lot to say the last time on this.
Well, I'm just gonna go and go in agreement with Genosha because with the way how females think nowadays, it's crazy. And they think that, as I said before, submission is for a woman to lie on the floor and the man have his foot in she neck, and she can't do nothing without his permission, and that is not how it is. So I totally agree with Janosha. You know, the man and his higher self, he's ready to lead. He's just got everything going, and hey, I am safe. I feel safe. I could let you lead me because I have no worries that you're gonna lead me wrong.
Got you. Got you. Peace, Nicolette. Hi, Priscilla. Ashanti chiming in.
Okay, so I got disconnected. Y'all know how this go. What was the question?
The question was about submission and
Uh-huh.
women submitting specifically. I know we
Well,
discussed it the last time, but I do want us to cover that and also get the king's feedback on that.
okay, so as an well, what we would label as a submissive woman and a alpha female, I think submission is, in my opinion, when a man is responsible. It comes with being a responsible male to then allow a woman to feel safe to submit. So a lot of us think that submission is, oh, the man leading and you're just going with whatever he's saying. But it really has to come with a responsibility, with rules, with, okay, if we want to go down the sexual route, which this is what most people think when they hear submission. You look at BDSM. BDSM, the dominant, the dominatrix, or whoever, they have to have a safe word, and it's you cannot go into that space without having that deal, because then it has to do with trust a lot, and whatever it looks like to both partners. So they have to have active communication and all that, because then if they cross a boundary, it then becomes more than, and it puts the person that's submissive in a very vulnerable state, which they already are in, and there's a thin borderline from abuse and complete submission in the BDSM world. So in reality now, where I see a lot of people throwing the word, oh, women need to submit, women need to submit, but what are they submitting to, and who? Do these men set a platform where the woman can feel like, all right, I'm going to submit to that because this is something I want. This is something I like. It aligns with me and who I am. And that's what they don't understand. It's not, oh, because me and man is supposed to submit to me. No, no, no. What kind of man are you? What are your morals? What are your values? Where are you leading this women to? Because that's what it is. A man leads. If they want to be dominant and all that, and they want to use the traditional terms, where are you heading? And why is this woman following you? That's my 2 cents.
Got you, Joa. I saw the wheels turning. Share with us.
Well, first she said submission.
I already
I
know.
was thinking, are we? Is it
I
poetry?
already
Like,
know.
what are we submitting? But then I realized you were talking about the vulnerability of relationships. So we go here. But this is the interesting thing that I've come to realize. We got to be careful because see what we've come is like, we all confused as a people because, we all over it. Everything's discombobulated. We have no order to things. See, since we in this state of like disorder and we're trying to get back, we need to understand which role and position we desire. Okay, like say for instance, some men are submissive men and some women are submissive women. Now, what you can't be is a submissive woman to a submissive man. That's a terrible combination. Let me get back on here. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's a terrible combination. So, and I think that if you're going to be uh, that leader, the one who is being what would be the term? Like if you're the one who's being submitted to, I don't want to say the alpha, but what
The
would
dominant.
the dominant?
The
Yes, you're going to be
dominant,
the
yeah.
dominant. You're
Mhm.
going to be the
Mhm.
dominant one. You have to be prepared, right? Now, I think it was Empress that said it's about um, being responsible for one, or was that Ashanti? Someone said about being responsible
Yeah.
for, it was Ashanti, have to
Yeah.
be responsible. And yes, responsibility comes into play in it, but you also have to know what you're being responsible for. Because see, this is the thing. You come to find that where you're the dominant one, you may be dominant, but you may not have the capacity to harness the objective that you want to surrender to you. You understand? So we really, each individual, male or female, we got to know the position that we desire to play, and that's where that personal work comes in. Like, for, I'll just leave it there.
All right.
But I'm gonna tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
For a woman and for the men who are listening to present, no matter how, whatever, you may see her to be too much, just everything. I don't know any woman in her complete wholeness who does not aspire to be able to surrender to he or it or that the one which can
Yeah.
possess the capacity. I mean, that's just like the ultimate something when it comes to relationships for me, because it's like some of us will reach it, some of us will get there, but we're not gonna all get there. That's might have
True.
lifetime. Yeah. So
let me ask this. So kings, y'all have heard what was said. Why do you? Well, I should really ask. Do you desire a woman who submits?
Well, let me respond to this, because a lot of people don't know this, but submission is actually an English word that is rooted in Latin. And I just so happened to study Latin when I was younger. And effectively, what submission means is to yield to one another. And so when we talk about the Black community, we talk about the Black family, what is so wrong with yielding to one another? I actually don't see anything wrong with it. I see everything right with it, because we have to be our essence is a collaborative people, a we culture, a we construct, as I always say. And so that requires us to yield to one another on a very frequent basis. And I think that is healthy, and I think that is actually wellness.
True. Got you. Gavin?
I thought I was going to be the odd one out. Win is absolutely right. I was going to ask you the question of what is submission really? Because there's absolutely no reason for a woman in the 20th century to be submitting to anyone. A relationship is supposed to be mutual, something built on mutual respect, mutual understanding. So what what submission should really look like is, I lean on your strengths, you lean on mine, we understand where each other has bearing within the relationship, and you balance it out. So if I know you're good at financing, I'm going to submit to your financial view. If you know I'm good at, say, household matters, you'll submit to my views on that. And that's how it's supposed to be, at least from my viewpoint.
Got you. Saran?
Yes, I also agree, because I'm listening this thing, and honestly, it might be weird, but when I think about the idea of a woman submitting, I love fairness, and there's something about it that doesn't set too comfortable with me. For example, if I have a daughter, you understand, as a father now, I have a daughter and I have to, speak to her about matters of submission. I would have a concern about how she's going to get cheated. You understand? To me, submission is a two-way thing. And the reason why it's two-way, because the active principle in submission is trust. You see, and a man can have trust for a woman in a way that he submit in the sense of that trust. You understand? He trusts her with whatever she brings to the table that affect him, maybe the wider family and so forth. And similarly, the woman also will submit to that same principle because this person got the kind of integrity and character that she can afford to feel safe and secure and she can trust. So she submit equally. You understand? So for me, it's more a focus to me on the principle of trust and what brings trust. If you got the qualities that brings promote this sentiment of trust, then yeah, that's something I can submit to. I can let the woman take the lead in whatever matter because she just have that particular skill, she have the knowledge, whatever. And so I can sit back and I can submit in that sense and trust her to take the lead in certain matters. You understand? So submission for me is not the typical, well, because you're a man, you automatically, by some order, you're automatically entitled to be the dominant. You understand? I think it's fairer, it sits better with the psyche of both individual when that element for submission is something that is mutual. It's a mutual principle that govern both individuals, like, you understand? So, that's my take on it. Submission really is, the active principle is really trust. And once this person have the kind of character, either way, that makes you comfortable and secure and you can trust, well, yeah, that's a situation that you can work with and you can trade submission, so to speak.
There we go. Fire.
I love this topic, and everything everyone said is spot on in my mind. It all has merit. For me, when bringing it home with the origin of the term in the Latin, where it talks about this yielding to one another, is ultimately my perspective of submission. So I don't have a egoic disposition from the position of the male in the social structure where you woman yield, submit to me, and if you're not doing that, you're disobedient, and you're fired. I'm getting divorced. So I think the yielding is important, but what's also important before we move on is the knowledge of self, knowing who you are, knowing your role and responsibilities, to Gavin's point that he interjected. Everyone has unique skill sets. Every male is not an alpha. Every male is not good at finance, accounting, pulling weeds, landscaping, changing, handyman things around the house, cooking, cleaning, folding. The way that my wife and I, we've been married 19 years, we've been together 21 years, and I'm 40. So we grew up together. The way it works is the person who's the best at the task tackles it. Because if it's going to take her 2.5 hours to sweep this floor, and it's going to take me 30 minutes, I got the floor.
Yep.
I got the floor. Plus, you leave crumbs behind. It takes you too long, and it's still dirty. I got it. All right. So she can take that time and reallocate it some other way that adds value to the unit.
True.
So we play the yielding game, and I want to challenge everyone who hears submission to consider that it's your relationship with the word, the context or frame that shows up by default based on your socialization, your domestication, and your conditioning that says it's a negative term.
Yeah.
True.
You're bringing that to the term. It doesn't exist all by itself. It's what you're bringing to the term.
Okay, so thank you so much. And you see, this is why the king and queen together is so necessary. That's, the way the kings expressed it in it being balance between the two, yielding to each other is, beautiful and necessary to hear. I want to see what's coming in comment section. Facebook user, exactly, submitting to each other. Welcome, Keisha. Peace and blessings. Better late than never. Um, Turner, welcome. Natasha, I'm glad you're here again, Queen. So I want to, does anybody else want to share anything on submission? Because I do want us to develop it as much as we can, as opposed to just feeding questions and rushing through the entire thing. Does anybody want to add anything on the submission part? I know you do, Joa.
No, I was just thinking it was just
You're
a
good.
simple way to sum it up. Just that, I was just thinking about, you know, getting to that place, like, um, as we mentioned, that ability to surrender, that ability to yield, and how, that's the ultimate goal in a relationship, to be able to have that trust. All of us won't be able to get there, but when you put it in perspectives of just being able to yield or just being able to trust, it takes a lot of personal growth to be able to, arrive to a place where, you can be vulnerable with multiple energies to get there, whatever. So,
I mean, I can add into that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you're choosing to be with an individual, that vulnerability has to exist. I mean, you can't be sharing your body and not be sharing your soul, not be sharing your thoughts. It doesn't make
for
sense
healthy, yeah, for a healthy, yeah,
for
exactly.
a healthy relationship. And
Love it.
the whole concept of submission in itself, as we probably know it growing up, I think that was mostly taught through Christianity. Where in the biblical version, it's the woman below, man above for all things. Where if you look more towards the Afrocentric practice, it's whomever has the skill leads. An African man is not going to go to an African woman and dictate cooking. That will never happen. She will grab a knife and he'll be out of the kitchen quick.
Yeah, but
Got you.
Yeah, we
that
have.
that raises another concern though,
I
because
Well,
actually
that's a
thought
whole different
I
topic. That's a whole different topic. But
the,
I was actually
that,
thinking about that, like where have we been taught, which it always comes back to the white man,
correct, it's Western.
and the males were influenced, our black males were influenced by their toxic masculinity, so that's where most of it comes from if we go deeper into history. So it's a deep topic.
but even if we just stay in the now, can we address the light on when we are in relationships and then there becomes that imbalance of who can do what and who's like maybe has a lot of incompetencies because you know
Again, that's leaning on strengths.
Yeah.
Yeah,
is that
it's about being honest, because honesty goes a long way. Because then if you say I'm not really good at this, and I think I CERN, or oh no, Fire said it about, he knows his wife possibly can't sweep up the floor as fast as he could. And it really, when you sit down and say, yo, these are my weaknesses and these are my strengths, and you're open and not ashamed of, like, I really can't do this. And a lot of people, it's not easy for them to actually say, I just suck at doing this. Most women as well, because a lot of women get married and they can't cook. And then they have men that are of the opinion that they can cook because, and not to say that marriage material, that cliche shit that for you to get married, you need to know how to cook. But I think we spoke on this a time, Queen, where we were talking about, like, everybody should be able to know how to look after themselves first before they even try to go look after somebody else. And
True.
it really comes down to, even if, yeah, I maybe not the best at folding clothes. Like, guys, I would do the laundry, but I dump all the shit on the bed. If my man wants to fold them, he folds them. But it's just being honest. Like, I'm not good at that. And it's really, really hard for people to actually say this. Like, I'm just not good at it. Because then they feel like they have this bar set that we have to all be the same. And it just is not that. Like, I can cook, I'm a chef, but y'all can't cook like me. I don't know if anybody is like on chef level like me. And that's normal. That's okay. Not everybody is, as Fire said, not all men are handymen. Not all men are gonna go outside and cut the grass and feel good in the sun. Not all men are mechanics and they get their hands dirty. So it really comes down to being honest with who you are. And Jua, you said about personal growth. And a lot of us go into relationships and we have no idea who we are. And this generation, it's about the flesh. It's not about anything else but that. So they go into it because you're cute. You're cute. My genitals are acting up because I see you, but then they have no idea what they're capable of and what their strengths are, and they're probably very insecure. Majority of the people around here are very insecure about their own selves, and I mean that's where it is. That's where it's at.
That's where
Yeah.
it starts.
Let me bring in some of the comments from Facebook. Saran Peace, welcome, Queen. She says it was interesting hearing the views of the kings on submission. Indeed, indeed. Sharon agrees with you. Fire. Let me see what else is here. Many of us don't trust ourselves, so it's difficult for us to relinquish trust to others. Well, I'm paraphrasing, but yeah. That's very true. That's very true. We really don't trust ourselves. And so we'll find that there's a lot of difficulty handing over the reins to anybody else. I'm loving this topic on submission. My view is that both
Can I touch on what they just said? Like a lot of people would not admit. We have this thing where okay, somebody hurts us, and we don't trust people. Women like to say that I don't trust men. Man just bad. But then we've never actually looked at ourselves. Like you don't even trust yourself. You don't even trust yourself. Like I had to face that. That was like some deep shadow work. Like I don't even trust myself to get a good man. Like I don't trust myself to get myself out of this. And to look in the mirror and see that. So that person actually said that. That's actually a big thing. Because trust sometimes is not even about the other person. It's you trusting your own self then will give you the ability to trust others because then you can trust your intuition to know, hey, okay, my radar is basically telling me you shouldn't do that. You're so in tune with your intuition after you realize how much you trust yourself because you listen deeply to what is coming up within. And that takes a lot to do. So when I tell people I know what it is to do that shadow work, because it really comes down to shadow work and I can only speak for the women because I'm a woman. I don't really know how the men viewed this part about trusting their own selves and facing the music, facing any traumas that they had in their lives and not taking the blame and really looking at it for what it is and holding yourself responsible for what was your part in anything. And a lot of us, like women, we get mad and say, oh, this in the relationship world, oh, I'm going to trust no man. But you put yourself there. At least you put yourself there. Like, let's own that. Did I trust myself to say, I see the red flags? No. But I don't trust myself to honor that. I see the red flags and I still go through because I have something to prove.
that constant pointing
A
the
lot of us
finger.
do it. Yes, because we are, as women, we like to play the victim always. Like, the men are always wrong. Like, we are not wrong, like, ever. And we have to take responsibility for choosing these men. So when you see the men on Facebook and them dropping the bombs, but for example, your baby daddy shit, and then you want to go on Father's Day and blast the men.
Hold on, but you chose him. Hold on,
You picked him.
you chose him.
You ride with him. Exactly.
So
Of all the men in the world.
Exactly.
We talk about the daddy to the children.
Exactly.
And the child is here.
Exactly.
I don't know what's wrong with my kid. Okay, so we talk about we're gonna berate the father to the child. The child is looking at us the whole time. I didn't choose him.
Mm-hmm.
You telling me how horrible of a man you chose him for me. And so the whole time the child hating the mama and the daddy because
exactly. No, we create we the women sometimes create the traumas in our family because we don't take responsibility for our choices. And they don't like to hear when the men say, but you're choosy. I want a good man, a bad man, you love. So so when I see men actually say that, I'm like, they're right, because who else chose him? I can't be mad. Who else?
Hold on. He's such a horrible man.
but you have given him all the children he has.
Yes. So at
When
what
do you
point?
stop?
At
I
what
mean,
point
what
did
point
you
do you
know
stop?
that he was a horrible man? At what point?
Or you're the seventh of you're the seventh mother.
The whole
Exactly.
problem with that
Exactly.
is that women have this delusional concept that they would take the worst man and turn him into a king.
Best. Yeah.
I can
That is the
confess,
most
I can tell
delusional
you
thing I've
guys,
ever heard.
guys, we know where that comes from. Let me tell you, as a young girl, they teach us that we are supposed to fix men. You
But
understand?
yeah, well, no, not just fix men. We
What
fix
else?
anything.
We
Everybody.
fix everything.
If
We
you
fix
got a
everything.
grandmother like mine, if it's
So
broke, that's
you're,
you don't throw
you're
it away.
talking
You fix.
nurturers.
Exactly.
You're talking
The
nurturers.
more
I
creative you
understand
can
that.
be, the better off you are.
So they find
No type
broken
of
men.
creation is going to fix a broken man. None type.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
we've
So
been
women,
conditioned. But
people
we've
need to
been
know that they
conditioned with
take
it.
exactly. They need to take responsibility for their own damn self. Fix it damn self. Like then,
Yep.
and then when you're ready, after you fix your shit,
Wow.
then you can decide you want to be in a relationship. But no, relationships are based off of finances, sex. What else, guys? All the trivial shit.
Companionship.
Cause they're
That's
lonely.
Let
your
me
love.
bring
They're
in some of
lonely.
the comments because the people going crazy in the comment section. Let's see
Well, before you do that, can I make a comment?
Go
Yes,
ahead.
Wind.
So we let a statement go by that I think ought to be addressed. Jewel said that men endure toxicity because of European culture, something to that effect. Is that correct, Jewel?
No, that was a
It
Shantae
was
lady.
me. It was me. Like
Oh,
the
something.
toxic masculinity is influenced from basically slavery, the white male.
I would argue that toxicity is prevalent in our culture, period, amongst men
Mm-hmm.
and women.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you know, you look at this BBL phenomenon, being
Oh
flued
Lord.
out phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
All that is a function of European, values, and it's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely toxic.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just say that that toxicity is prevalent just today, period.
Turning what you said, when
Saran,
when you try
let's
to
be.
mix, when you try to mix what I think in the
I'm
last
gonna mute the dog. Who's got the
Mute the
dog?
dog.
Let's mute the
My
dog.
dog is tuned in.
The poor dog.
in the last 30 years, there was the alpha male development where the man was supposed to be strong, dominant over the women. And then over the course of the last 20, 18, 20 years, the feminist movement came up, hard pushing. And when you put an alpha male against a feminist, all there is conflict. There will not be any marriage, any marriage of views when it comes to those two
But
things.
who started the feminist movement?
The feminist that's this okay. So controversially, the feminist movement was started by Europeans.
By which ones?
Europe, okay, white people.
Thank you
Okay,
very much. You're trying to make the heats.
okay.
It's the
So
white woman started
so
the
the white
feminist
woman
movement.
started feminism because they were
Yes.
they were pushed back into the whole home situation. During that time, there was basically, and those are the middle class white women at that, because the working class women, they had their roles. The men went out to work in the factories, fields, etc. The women stayed home, took care of the children, took care of the home. It was balanced. And then the middle class white women now became more educated, and then they began wanting to be equated to males, which in fact generally they are. I mean, there's not much difference
No,
intellectually between.
they're not.
Let me finish. There's not much there's no difference intellectually between a man and a woman. We all can intellectually do the same work. Physicality, no, that's a whole different thing. Endurance, musculature, all that good stuff. But mentally, we can all do the same mental tasks. Now, with men losing their jobs during the recession, etc., during that time, end of slavery, both persons needed to go into the workplace. And then from that, that's where the whole feminist equality, because they were being paid equally, etc. And that was all good. But once they won the battle, they continued fighting, a, basically imaginary war to try to gain more equality where they already had it.
They
And this,
didn't.
Let me
like I say, when the battle was won,
I want to
because
argue that point, but Saran, what do you say? No.
let me bring in some of the, because a lot of comments flew by me just now. To admit what you are not good at, we have to kill the ego. Yeah, the persona we create. That's coming in from Odin. Peace and blessings, King. Thank you. And I mean, we discussed that in detail on King's Court last time around. The importance to differentiate between your higher self and your egoic self. Major difference in terms of how we function when we operate in whichever realm it is. And yeah, that admission that you're not good enough or you're not good at this or whatever, it definitely is difficult for a lot of us who operate in ego. Let me see, Goddess say, oh my. So trusting self is definitely a task. This is painful. I feel attacked. Awesome topic. Peace and blessings, Karen. How are you? Nico, welcome. There's some when you is there anybody on Zoom experiencing audio issues? I saw somebody post about that there. Are we clear, Dash? I do want to move the conversation along to what is yes, okay, all right, peace. Um the biggest misconception you think we have of each other.
Say it again.
The biggest misconception that we have of each other. What do you think is the biggest misconception men have about women and vice versa?
I would love to answer that.
Go right ahead. Shoot.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions that women have of men is that we don't like the things that you guys like, and we don't have the same feelings as you guys have. I think that oftentimes, um, going back to what I was saying to Ashante, is that there's a lot of toxic femininity too, and there is a notion that men are to be a particular way at all times. Yet, it's wanted that men are vulnerable and men are soft and romantic. Yet there's an expectation that they ought to be hard, and do certain things all the time and not cry or not, suffer or not, be concerned or worry about things, right? That they always have to have everything in order, their life in order and everything, all lined up. And the fact of the matter is that that is not the case. And going back to feelings and wants and desires, there are things that you guys like that we would like too. My mother and other women have exposed me to many things in my life, and there are some things that I never thought I would enjoy that I actually enjoy. Like, I know my man Fire enjoys pedicures and manicures and massages and all sorts of things, right? And you know, we have feelings too. But
Thank you.
I'll pause right there.
Thank you. Who wants to go next? Fire. Misconception we have.
Oh man, misconception that that women have of men
Yes.
specifically.
Hmm.
Wynn covered so many. He covered such a broad swath of what I would say. Um, One that comes to mind is the feelings thing. Um, we definitely feel. We are human, and it's known between the neocortex, which is the frontal lobe, and the limbic brain. That the limbic brain is where the feelings are housed. So when you think about um, what drives us or motivates us into action, what causes a physiological response in the body, that's all limbic brain. That's all feeling based. And that is actually in an unconscious state, the basis of truth for us is how we feel. So that's one thing I would just highlight that Wynn mentioned, that we definitely feel all the feels, all of them. Daddy couldn't beat that out of me. Like he couldn't beat it out. Like it's still, I'm still human. It's still there. Another thing is that men are pluralists in nature. I think it's a misconception that being monogamous is unnatural. I think that's a misconception. There's no way that I can look at a man and my point of view of what a man is to protect, to problem solve, to provide, and to procreate. I can't imagine having to do that for more than one woman. There's no way I can handle. We could talk about African. We could talk about what they used to do back in the day to replenish or populate the earth. We're past that. There's 7.8, almost 8 billion people on the earth. We don't need to keep making households with 30 kids. Like we don't need that right now. And so there's no way I can be who I am or who I was called to be as a husband to more than my wife. It's hard enough. It's hard enough standing up to all of her expectations. And so those are the two things I leave you with.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Saran, what you got?
Yeah, well, okay. Well, the one thing that stand out in my mind, and I come across it a lot, is the idea that, like, well, the man is like emotionally unintelligent, almost inherently. It is thought like, well, the woman is more emotionally intelligent than the man. We don't understand feelings and stuff like that. And just as Fire said, I think it's mutual across the board. But according to how male are cultured, we don't live in our feelings too tough. I mean, the women are more expressive in that way.
Yeah.
But we're not cultured to be that kind of way. You understand? We are cultured to be more reserved emotionally because it's a kind of show of strength on the part of the man and so forth. And so oftentimes, I mean, you'd hear things like man from Mars and woman from Venus, which supposed to mean, well, the woman have some kind of inkling that the man just sees a total novice about these things. You understand? I don't think it is so. And particularly once the man is aware of himself. Because to me, with awareness come a heightened sensitivity and a certain softness.
Yeah.
You understand? That comes with it. And it only makes sense that this is so, because you cannot be relating to the female and yet still you cannot come to that level of emotion inside yourself that you can relate to what she is expressing in her feelings and so on. You got to be there, or else it will affect the very first thing that we touch on, intimacy.
Yes.
It has a direct impact on that. So, that's the one thing that stands out in my mind where misconception is concerned. I think the man also can be just as intelligent emotionally as the woman. You understand? But the man himself, I believe, in order to step out of that, given the way that we are cultured, I believe self-awareness has to come on the man's part. And then that brings him to that point of sensitivity and, emotional intelligence, said we,
Yeah. Thank you. Gavin. You're muted.
From my point of view, that's to add to the discussion that the guys had, because everything they said thus far is on point. The biggest misconception I can say is that the man always has to be in control.
Okay,
Mm,
that's
mm,
As strained as it is, we take on a lot more than women comprehend in the maintenance of the relationship, in the maintenance of of their own lives, and in the maintenance of the unit that they agree to go into with the woman. House stresses House stresses weigh us down so much they cause us to be emotionally disconnected at times. This is why the man is quiet, because men are generally of action, not of words. So we aren't going to take the 10, 15 minutes to go in the corner and cry about something, or go and find some friend and be talking about the same issue for hours. A man is thinking, how am I going to fix this? What I do need to do? What do I need to sacrifice? How much time, effort I need to put into this to get this to work? So
thank you.
that being said, we cannot be in control of everything because it's adding additional weight.
I love that. I love that. Ashanti, the biggest misconception that men have about women.
Oh, I've actually been trying to think about like what are most things. So I will just go off of myself. One thing I've experienced being a very, as you want to call me, a firecracker, too much. Because a woman is outspoken, it means that she is not submissive, or she is not somebody that can be soft with a man. So a woman that's highly opinionated is labeled as an angry woman, or that type of stuff. And that men being intimidated by women who are what we call now girl bosses, that them making more money makes them less than, and it's actually funny because most times a woman that has that type of strength actually needs a king by her side, because we to take on that much is a lot, and you need support, lots of it, like, and I think some men in society, they believe that if they don't have the ability to make as much money as her or more, he's less than, or he can't provide for her because she go want more than what she can already do for herself. Um, what else do I think that men have a miss? Oh, this is actually very funny. Where most women that are physically beautiful are not intelligent.
Hmm.
Yes, and that all women want from them are material things. So men will approach you because you're beautiful. They don't think you can have conversations, and they don't think that you are intelligent. So they kind of bombarded when they realize, oh shit, she can hold a conversation, that kind of way. And it's the physical aspect of things and the material aspect of things. It's not. Some women are just not about that. I can't think of anything else, but I mean, if I wanted to spin off of what the guys are saying, when they say that they believe all women are emotionally intelligent, nay, nay, we are not. You mean we're the opposite? Men reserve it. Women are like wildfire. We don't. Most of us do not know how to control our emotions, and we run with it. And we get away with that sometimes. We act crazy basically because we don't know how to deal with it. And yeah, that's basically what I can think of at the top of my head.
Okay. Janosha, what would you say is the biggest misconception men have about women?
Um, well, I sort of have things. First one is that women are too emotional. Um, heard that. That can be too emotional in um, certain aspects. They're, you know, if we're understood, just like Ashanti said, you know, they feel as though we too outspoken or can't control our frustrated or angry, so especially. words then are always what were to be, calm or nurturing or have that sort of response that brings balance. Sometimes inside outside of ourselves, especially our mother, we need to be balanced by our significant other also. So us being too emotional or overreacting, that is sometimes a something men have misconstrued about us instead of thinking, oh, perhaps she also has a lot to balance. Yes, men have a lot of things on their plate, but so do we, especially if we are taking care of the home, taking care of the children, nurturing you, and also nurturing ourselves. We have to go through emotions, even if it is heightened sometimes. So, yeah,
Got
that's
you. Yeah, Nadia. Nadia. Oh, is she frozen? Oh no. Okay.
Forgive me. My internet is not being nice today. I think the misconception is men, well, most of them think that women only want men for what they have or what they can give. Um, a lot of men would be like, "Oh, she only want me for my money, so I'm just gonna use her because that's all she wants, anyways. So we're just doing an exchange. I get some sex, she gets some money, and we keep moving." But that is not what most women want. I mean, most women, I mean, some when you look at it, I can't really blame the men for thinking like that for how the women in society nowadays are behaving. They
Yeah.
make everything money based. So I can't really blame them for thinking that. But what are the type of women are you choosing? If that's the type of women you keep, how should I say, manifesting in your life, that is what you're going to get. Because all
Yeah.
women is not like that. A woman wants a man that is stable. Yes, he can handle himself. He is providing for his family. He can take care of me. He can be loving on me. He can, just be a man and I can be a woman and we can combine and be awesome together. So the thing is, what are you inviting? What is what are you manifesting in your life? Because if you're manifesting a gold digger, as they would put it, that's what you're going to keep getting in your life.
It's a reflection of you.
I'd like to follow up on that actually. I'm glad that you brought that up, Impress, because I think that one of the things that women are wrong about is that all men like that WAP, right? They're after the WAP. Like so let me just say this is that of course we love beautiful women, right? And we do in fact want that WAP, right? However, what really matters is a substantive woman, right? A polished woman, a respectable woman, a respected woman, a powerful woman, a woman that has um long duration. We don't want to we don't necessarily want to hop in and out of beds, with fly by nights, right? That's not really what's deeply in our souls. What's deeply in our souls is to have an extraordinary partner.
Got you. Joa, the biggest misconception men have about us. Slow and peace and blessings, King.
First and foremost, you all have to forgive me for eating on screen. I wish you all could go get a snack because back to this. But I think the greatest, to be honest, I don't know of them because I guess you could say that by no control of my own, I I would be known as the what would you stereotype breaker buster. So there's there's, I don't know. I don't know what the greatest misconception about one, or that, you know, you gotta be careful with generalizations. That's, but that's with all genders. That's my greatest realization when it comes to misconceptions about one another. We have done ourselves a great disservice as a people running with generalizations. So that's the best that I can say. Uh, when we generalize, like women this or men this or that, that's the greatest misconception because we are not all equal. We are not all cut from the same cloth. There's a uncommon thread amongst us all, and I don't know. That
I was
I,
actually gonna say something after Win said what he said because I was thinking while we were talking that you said something really important that not everybody is a certain way. So just like Fire said, he's a monogamous man, and he can't deal with more than two women or whatever. And some people actually want that, and it really comes down to what you want and what aligns with you. So I think that what you said, Jua, is actually perfect. Where the biggest misconception is us even having that thinking that men and women are supposed to be a certain way, or even thinking that
Right.
they all should have an opinion. Like, I think there's no right or wrong way because we're all in our paths at whatever time.
Yeah.
So if it is we want to manifest a man that's gonna be one that wants to just feed us with gifts, like that's okay. That's what you want. And if it is that we want a woman that, unless she wants things from me, then I don't feel like a man, that's okay too. So it really comes down to where you're at in your life and what you
compatibility,
feel is a substantial relationship, you know?
compatibility, and alignment.
Got you. Uh,
Exactly.
so I want to shift gears. I want to
Can I just add something before you do that?
sure.
Because I think this is a very, to me, this is a very, very good discussion to have. Perhaps it's something that should be explored even more.
Oh man, I Saran.
Gives on both sides.
Internet.
You understand? It's social conditioning. All these standards about how the man should be and how the woman should be is all based on a certain social construct. You understand? Because look at it here. You have a panel of people here with self-awareness, and we're erasing all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Now, where's this thing coming from within us that we're all agreeing on these standards? You
Exactly.
understand? What is going on right now speak to really who we are on both sides intrinsically.
Yes.
And the negatives that we are highlighting all along is really just based on our social conditioning. You come up as a male and you learn, okay, you must be strong, you must
Yes.
not show emotion and all of these things. And on the part of the woman, you have certain expectation with her. She must be soft, she must be submissive, and all this thing. And it's all just part of the whole social conditioning. And I think that this kind of discussion really go a long way in really helping other people who are in the midst of that to see a way out, to see an alternative. Because this way that we're speaking now, that is what bring both together
True.
Yep.
and make us the most powerful we can be. Because we cannot be our most powerful individually in our own lanes, only when we come together here. So this is a commendable situation here that we're having this kind of discussion and we're really setting the record straight as it relates to these things. This is a huge service to humanity, so to speak. You know what I mean? So I just wish to just drop that in,
Thank,
to kind of just put a wrap on that.
thank you very much. Thank you, Russ.
Respect.
So switching gears, something I guess more topical, more superficial. Let's talk about conflict, and I'm talking about a weird mix. Conflict between your queen and your mother. Kings, shoot your shot. Let's hear you. I know for us, our mothers are dear and near to our hearts, you know. What happens in a situation where there's a conflict between you, between your queen and your mother? What happens?
There can't be any conflict.
Huh?
There can't be any conflict.
It can't be any conflict.
Nothing.
Ideally,
You're choosing your queen.
You- Go
So
ahead.
you're choosing your queen. If they can't get along, then don't be together. That's simple. If they can't work out what the issue is. So if there's a disagreement between the two, as a man, you can step in between, try to broker it, see what's happening, see if you can get peace to be, peace to reign. But if peace can't reign, and it comes to a point where you have to make a decision as to which one you're going to side with, obviously you're going to have to side with your queen if she's right.
What was that at the end?
She's right.
She's right.
If
Exactly.
she's right.
If she's wrong, you're still going to side with her, but you're going to educate her on the side.
Got you. Got you. I Saran.
Ah, boy, I can't even imagine this one because you see, yes, I get a certain respect for my mom, right? I had a relationship about 16, and it really developed out of a flirt. It's just something that became serious that I wasn't really serious about, just throwing words and somebody pick up on it. And this girl, she came to my home, and she used to go in the kitchen and help my mom do stuff and so on and so forth. You understand? So my mom come to really love her. And then I had to be honest about my position with her, and that caused everything to go apart. And then my mom intervened, and she was like, well, she loved this girl and so on and so forth. And I personally tell Maria, listen, you got to keep out of my stuff, you know what I mean? And from that time, she never did that again. She leave me up with these things. And she pretty much just, you know what I mean, trust where I go. She also, she give me her opinion, but she doesn't get involved. She doesn't really get involved. She allow me to be the man and handle my stuff. So it's a little difficult for me to see that kind of conflict. You understand? But as Gavin said, you most like your queen is who you live with, man. You understand? Your queen is who you're gonna have your kids with, you're gonna share your life with in the long term. So you gotta be in that camp, but you have to also be honest. You know what I mean? If there's a conflict, well, whoever is wrong gotta take responsibility. It's just simple as that for me. You understand?
Gotcha.
And if you have the kind of mother that doesn't yield and she's contentious and all the rest of it, well, you got to be a man even with your mother. You see, when you come a man, you're not mommy boy anymore. You're a man, you understand? And even if you have to say, mommy, well, you got to stay in your lane here. You got to do that. You know what I mean? You got to be a man and do that. And any mother that really love her son and respect her son in a sincere way would respect that. You understand? You know what I mean? So yeah, that would be my take on that. Really, I don't see that developing. I'm the kind of person that really, my approach is to bring harmony. You understand?
Thank
But
you.
again, you cannot control people, and it can be a queen, it can be a mom, and they're hard pressed about their position and all the rest of it. You understand? So you will have those, but you just have to come right down the middle and just rule on the grounds of principle rather than the personalities involved. You know what I mean? Yes, I.
Yeah. Fire.
I'm gonna make it personal.
Right.
I'm making it personal. I'm gonna make it personal because I live this, and to respond to Gavin that it can't happen. I agree that it shouldn't happen, but it does. The reality that we live when there are two people coming together, two families coming together, where there is a baby boy. I'm the oldest child of my mother's two. I made life decisions and paid bills starting at 12. I was the man of the house who looked after my little brother starting at 7. He's 5 while my mother worked. I was my mom's best friend. I was my mom's man in the house. There was a relationship where she counted on me for things financial, emotional, physical, not crazy. I'm talking about protection, physical protection, protect
Right.
your little brother, lock the door, etc., so forth. And so when I got married, there was a conflict. I got married at 21 years old. I went from being my mom's best friend, her rock, her way out, her peace, her protector, to having a family like that overnight. And her position in my life went from priority. There was myself, my mom, my little brother, to my wife, our kids, and our family. And I didn't at 21 understand why my mom had an issue. So as a man, one of the tenets, the core tenets of being a man is being a problem solver. There could not be, I wasn't going to allow this rift between my wife and my mother. And so I had to use wisdom and discernment. I don't know where it came from, the Most High, our ancestors, my ancestors, to sit my mother down and get to the root of why she was behaving the way she was behaving. We like to respond to behaviors. Like, a child touches the hot stove, it gets a smack. They eat a cookie after supper when you told them not to, it get a smack. We don't deal with the psychological, the mental, the driver of why she's behaving this way. And so I sat her down, and she cried, and she confessed that she felt like she was losing her best friend, losing her son, losing this. It was all lost for her.
Yeah.
In her mind, and her experience was all lost. She had been abandoned by both of her parents, never knew the love of a father. So the only person who's been a stable force in her life, a reliable, constant force in her life since I was born, was me. Not even my dad. He left when I was 2. So her world was shooking upside down. Inside of that conversation, I got present to what she was dealing with. She got present to what I was dealing with and what my wife was dealing with. And they had their conversation, buried it, and she calls my wife some more than she calls me. Because we had to get that stuff out of the way. None of that had anything to do with my wife. That was daddy issues, mommy issues, abandonment, trauma, negative experiences, dating with my dad, etc. So had nothing to do with my wife. So my word to you all and everyone watching is to look beyond, see beyond, perceive beyond with that third eye, the behaviors and the tension, and get to the root of it, because the root of it likely has nothing to do with the other. Daughter-in-law to mother, I guarantee you almost every time it's not about a personal thing between those two.
Yeah.
I want to underscore that fire because I'm listening to you and I'm seeing the kind of relationship that I have with my mom, because she got through a very painful breakup, and I become a little bit of the man, you know what I mean, and best friend kind of person, to the point now that anybody that I bring home, so to speak, my mom embraced them without even knowing them very well. She trusts me like that. You understand? Because of the kind of relationship that we have. And she will set out to help them to even understand me, the kind of person that I am, because of the relationship I have with her. So I can totally relate to what you're saying. I yield.
Thank you. Wind, what do you have? Conflict between your queen and your mom.
Every man has to know their mother, and every man has to know their woman. And if you, as Fire stated, discern that your mom, is on some petty stuff or some foolishness, then you gotta park her to the side. You know what I mean? And as everybody said, be with your woman. There's some mothers that are very wise and knowledgeable and understanding.
True.
And then there are mothers that as much as we love them, we understand how petty and juvenile they could be, right? And how they could be messy and thwart ish, things. And so you just have to deal with that effectively. But I will say this: if you do have a wise mother, right, you have to listen to your mom because women know women and men know men. And so if your mother is telling you something that could protect you, you have to listen with a keen ear, you
True.
know. But I would say this: I would never choose a woman that my mother didn't like and didn't respect because she knew that I respected that woman, right? And so as an outpour, she would respect that woman as well, and so it wouldn't be a rift. So I mean I can't even imagine enduring any foolishness, with my mom. My mother, transitioned, last year, and she knew without uncertain terms that I was not the type of man to be playing with, with respect to my woman. So she would never ever, you know, um, trespass those lines. So that's something that I just simply wouldn't be concerned with. Now I will say that some women are like real sly with the pettiness, So if I caught that, then I would certainly bring it to her and address it. My mom and I had a very frank relationship, and I would often, be straight with her. You need to knock it off. You know what I mean? And she would just smile and laugh and concede that I caught something, and she would stop.
You're the
Thank
man.
you. Thank you, Win. Let
Yes,
me bring
ma'am.
in a beautiful share in the comment section. It's my brother got married the day before our mother's birthday some years ago and moved out of the family home that same day. My mother woke up on her birthday bawling, even though I was still living there at the time. Now, now that Fire spoke about his relationship with his mother, maybe mommy was experiencing something similar, even though she was married. Thinking about that makes me sad. Sad. Thank you for sharing, Queen. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Let me make this one statement too.
mhm,
A lot of times we were talking about the not the expectations, but the fallacies that women think about men and vice versa. One of the fallacies is that about adults is that adults ought to be mature. One of the fallacies is that our fathers and our mothers ought to be mature.
true.
And the unfortunate thing is that that's not necessarily always the case.
Hmm.
They are human beings too, and they endured a tremendous amount of trauma as well. And so as a function of that trauma, a lot of immaturity has resulted. A lot of pettiness and foolishness has resulted. And so we can't put our parents and adults on a pedestal. We have to see them for who they are,
True.
and not necessarily for who we want them to be or who we expect them to be.
Hmm.
We have to
True.
be in alignment with what reality is and call a spade a spade.
Thank you. Thank you.
From yeah, man.
Gavin, you wanted to add something to that?
No, no, we good. We good. I'm in complete agreement with everybody said. It's all good. The most I can probably add in is, like Fire said, men are supposed to be, well, sorry, men try to be, or at least should practice to be problem solvers. So if there is conflict, analyze the personalities, try to dig as deep as you can, try to resolve it. But at the end of the day, as As I said, if it comes down to choosing between backing your mother or backing your woman is who you're living with, who you're going to be having children with, so you have to support her all the way. Saran, you muted.
You're muted, Saran.
Sorry,
You're muted just now.
I was okay. I'm trying to get Zoom. Okay, you got it. All right. Okay, so that's true when adults, with regards to the adults and parents being mature, we often think that age offers to all of us a certain level of growth, development, maturity, and that type of thing. But we have all seen, especially in this time, sometimes you can have conversations with people in their 20s and it feels as if you're talking to an old soul. You know what I mean? Because they're grounded. And then you bump into somebody in their 60s and the level of loss that you encounter is really something major. So yeah, definitely agree with you, Gwen.
Let me just add a few more, because you see, a lot of our parents, the way that they are brought up, you understand, it leaves them limited in a lot of ways. And then we will come after that and we're exposed in a different way. And we develop a certain level of maturity that sometimes we got to be the one that is really helping to lift them up based on those shortcomings. And again, I can go back to stuff like that with my mom, because particularly after I become Rasta around 2021, and develop, meditation and reasoning ability, I used to have a lot of conversation with my mom and so on. And I would be like, the same way that I would be towards my queen in, uplifting her mind with reason. I'm doing the very same thing for my mom. And she looked forward to me coming by and reasoning with her on anything, bills, whatever. You understand? So we got to bear those things in mind. There's a certain outlook that we have, that the parent, because of the status of the parents, that they should always be strong and be wise and be all this thing, as Win said, and they're really not. Sometimes it's you, the child, that actually help them to grow, that help them to mature even further, So that's something very important to keep in mind, because our expectation also can cause us to deal with the parent in those particular conflict situation in a certain insensitive way, not being mindful of these things, you understand, just the way they are brought up.
Right.
A lot of us are really fortunate, you understand, to come up in the time that we come up and get the kind of exposure that we get, go further in school and all these kind of things, and really have a lot more impetus than the parent. The parent will have the benefit of experience, they're living longer, but you will learn certain things that they have never been exposed to,
True.
Yeah.
I want to bring in Sloan's comment. Being able to see trauma in our parents, we can also see it in ourselves. I do want us to discuss that a little bit.
How is it?
I think that's something that we need to speak about as a community more.
Sure.
This trauma that we're all exiting or trying to heal or somehow get a handle on. Sometimes it's generational, you know what I mean? And we don't really connect the dots. Instead, as you said, Isa, and as we get the wisdom, sometimes we tend to judge others who don't have it. So it's important for us to discuss that, as a community. Let me see what else. So I want to put that out there in terms of seeing the trauma reflected from your parents on us as people, as we aim for awareness and that type of thing. Who wants to go first? Joy giving me side eye.
Fire.
I know we have
raise his
discussed
hand.
this a lot.
Fire raise his hand.
I could touch, but after Fire.
I think Sloan is brilliant in that observation because oftentimes our own traumas we can't see, just like our parents can't see it in themselves. But um, about 12 years ago, Wynn and I did this work where we met together in Atlanta through the Landmark Education Curriculum for Living, and inside of that, I began for the first time to see and truly understand my parents' trauma. And it was from that as a basis that I began to look at my own inwardly because I was able to not judge myself and take it personal. Right. I was able to see where everything that I experienced that was a direct result of what they had experienced was not personal. Like they didn't intend to screw me up. That was not their intention.
Yeah.
And inside of them being screwed up, I started to look at all of my mess from a different perspective, almost like an observer versus me being me, trying to cover up all my stains and insecurities. It's like, well, you inherited a lot of these things, and it wasn't intentional. They didn't do this to you on purpose. It didn't mean that they didn't love you, and it brought great empathy to the relationship and thus intimacy, more deeper intimacy with both of my parents in the relationship, which gave me the language to be able to have the conversation with my wife and my kids about all of my mess, where I was messed up and what I needed to resolve within me. So just creating this awareness, I think the parents understanding that your parents have trauma and that, however they were with you that was ineffective wasn't personal. It came from someplace, and being curious and investigating that root gives some space so you can look at yourself without all the judgment, all the shame, and all the guilt, and really start to do, as Ashanti said earlier, her shadow, that shadow work, that inner work. So that's what I got.
Thank you. Thank you. Joel?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. By the time I realized how much my traumas, my parents' traumas had impacted me, I had gone through so much destruction. I'll be spending the rest of my life. I'm making the millions. How about we say that? But seriously, no, yeah, that intergenerational trauma is one thing to be able to acknowledge it. It's another thing to be able to work on that process of undoing it. And the unfortunate thing about most of us, and a lot of folks like myself, where the stress has created so much cortisol, it almost killed me, that, we start, our foundation is based on, well, my case and many other cases, either fear or, specific traumas. And when we evolve our personality, we develop our personality off of those specific traumas. And in doing that, and like I said, raising my family from that, it's just been a very, it's been a series of misfortunate events. When it comes to starting off with expectations, going through your phases of healing and your shadow work, not realizing that, that healing process is it's almost like it's a gradual healing process. It's never ending. Your traumas are kind of reveal themselves over time. You can have suppressed energies that you didn't know about and all that kind of thing. They come up or whatever. But I'm just amazed at how, despite the fact that we're not responsible for a lot of the things that, well, for most of the things that set us on our foundation for early childhood or adulthood, many of us will spend, if we're conscious or want to be better people, will spend the majority of our lives trying to undo or, undo or create a better environment. But if we're not careful, the damage will be done. And all of our relationships, and many of our relationships, will be soiled or compromised based on our ability to work through our traumas or our inability to work through our traumas. This is the thing about a lot of the relationships that we've started before we did our trauma work. Those relationships will be compromised too, because at the end of it, they'll no longer suit us or sustain us like they once had. They're no longer healthy for us, and so we have to find a way to move through those. So we have the healthy relationships that we have to dissolve. Then we have the unhealthy relationships that we have to dissolve or compartmentalize, and then we have the healthy relationships that we want to attempt to build. But I, at one point, I was disappointed, but then I got to a point where I was like, "Well, damn, well, such as life." Because, like I said, I just can't believe it took me. I think I'll say it took me about 23 years, maybe 26 years, to realize I was fucked up because, excuse my language, because I had been working from places of trauma when I had actually thought that I had did the necessary healing, but it wasn't until different phases, like that 7 year phase, that
Mhm.
year phase, that 21-year phase, where certain things uh, came to the surface that I did not expect at one time or another. But luckily, I guess I was provided the tools to work through it, but
Mhm.
all for the sake of getting to the point of thriving and past surviving for
Mhm.
all that it's worth.
Yep, I
Yeah,
hear that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
wanted to share something off of that question. Repeat what Sloan said again for me.
Being able to see trauma in our parents, we can see them also in ourselves.
Yeah, so like personally, that's something I had to do when I was doing my work of checking myself out. And as a woman, our trauma usually comes.
Oh boy. We can't hear you, Ashanti. Please, Sylvia. We can't hear you. I know you're not muted, but we lost everything. Am I correct? Y'all can hear her? Okay. Who wants to go? Wind? What do you have? Generational trauma.
Um, I don't have anything to add on generational trauma. I mean, we've passed through that before. Um,
Um,
I don't
Um,
want to belabor
yeah,
that point.
the to jump on a point that was made earlier. At the end of the day, like Fire said, we can't blame our parents for the trauma that they passed on to us. They didn't know better. Right now, we're in the woke generation, so there's a lot more information out there. We understand being mentally mature, emotionally intelligent, all that good stuff. When our parents were coming up, they had to deal with some real bad stuff, and they had no one teaching them or trying to trying to show them how exactly it is you need to be a good human being or a good parent.
mhm.
At the end of it all, this one statement remains true no matter what. You can't blame yourself for the trauma you experienced as a child, but you are responsible for the healing process as an adult.
True.
So,
That's it.
yeah, part of that is doing introspection and identifying exactly how screwed up you are.
Hmm.
Because some way, something is wrong with everyone. Once you can identify that, then that's when the work starts. And if you don't start the work, you don't mean good for yourself and you don't mean good for any other person that comes into your life. Because you will end up passing that trauma to them.
True.
It's
True.
like someone that internalizes their pain, eventually that has to come out. And it's
Hmm.
going to come out to the people that are closest to you because you interact with them.
Hmm. Yeah.
I do have one comment though. Um, we are all human beings, and as a consequence of being human beings, we are fallible. You know, none of us are ideal, and so we have to discontinue pedestalizing one another. You know, just because this guy makes $160 billion, he's perfect, he's great, he's extraordinary, all the way around. Just because this guy, you know, can slam dunk and is one of the greatest athletes in the world, that he's a great human being all the way around the world. Just because this is our mother, just because this is our father, you know, they're ideal parents, they're ideal human beings. You know, nothing further could be from the truth. You know,
Yeah.
and we need to stop that, and we need to provide grace and mercy towards each other. You know, and extend empathy towards each other, and we'll be so much better off with that. You know, as opposed to having these lofty expectations and these fantasies in how we relate to one another. You know, it's just foolishness, to be honest. And I'm complete with that.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, very clearly.
Great. Like the
Can I add
internet was
one
messing
point?
with me.
Can I add one point, Ashanti?
Yeah, sure, you can.
Yeah. Something that our society has put a stigma on persons seeking professional help via psychiatry, counseling, whatever it may be. But we have to remove that now, because it can take you 20, 30, 40 years to work with traumas you dealt with. But if you sit with a professional, you can sort almost everything out, depending on how deep it is, etc., in a vastly less time frame. So sitting with a professional, talking out your trauma, letting them help you sort it out, taking that money that you would put towards partying or buying something and investing it in your mental health is worth 10,000%. I put it that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very, very true. Thank you for that, Gavin. Gavin.
Yeah, yeah, I could spin off of that, and that's actually what made me realize, because I was trying to speak on the trauma response that Sloan was talking about, where when I went to get therapy is when I realized that, you know, how important a lot of things, like just the whole picture and look, sitting back and looking at your whole life is important. So trauma from our parents is passed on, and it's something most people don't really realize, because in our eyes, kind of like, our parents can possibly do no wrong, or like we put them on a pedestal and we have high expectations of them, and not looking at them from a aspect of, I'm a parent now, so I can see now, being a parent, you're not perfect. There's no perfection, and who taught them how to be parents? So this is personal for me, because I went through extreme trauma on my mother's side, where her choice of man became very traumatic for me, because he was a pedophile, and then I was put into a bad situation because my mother did not see, and this is after me doing self-realization, which then led me into a space of, why did my mother not do anything? Why did my mother not protect me? Deep questions that eventually released me from that bond with the trauma, where you have to ask the question of, where did she learn that from? So people would say, like, why you don't hate your mother, because she never really responded, where she chose to live with him. She chose to side with him regardless of knowing the truth, and she chose to defend him and stood by his side for years. And me, her daughter, up to this day, my mother and I can never see eye to eye.
and there's constant conflict. And I had to ask myself questions. I had to remove myself as the child to then realize it's not about me, it's about her. And me wanting to fix and heal relationship with her made her, I literally put a mirror in front of her for her to realize her shit. And I was traumatic for her. So I had to then, as a child and as a woman, step back from that, because what it does, it makes me constantly relive that experience. And that sometimes we do have to let go of people, no matter how important or as close family as they are. You have to let them go, because some things, you could do therapy as long as you want, but they will always, it's like throwing salt in that wound constantly, and constantly having to deal with that. And I had to, like, really learn, like, why, what was happening to her. And it was just her own insecurities and how her family dealt with her. And she wasn't strong enough as a woman to know that, hey, me standing up doesn't mean that I'm left vulnerable. Me standing up for something doesn't mean that I am less than. And it is one of the greatest lessons I've learned from my mother's mistakes, where I don't give a shit who you are. I am valuable. My life is valuable. My children's lives are valuable, because it has nothing to do with material things. I don't care what society think it looks like. I'm going to stand up for something. And even if I'm walking around the place homeless, because okay, I'm dependent on this person and I have to leave this situation because it puts me in a vulnerable or even more vulnerable situation, I choose me, and I choose what is right rather than just what feels good or what's always comfortable. So that's something I learned after years of healing and really looking at the situation on a whole, and looking at her as a human being rather than that's my mother and she's supposed to do this and she's supposed to do that. So that's actually very powerful. And a lot of women, men think, oh, they like to say daddy issues. It's actually very, like, hard. Like, my father was not really around, and I don't hold him up to that expectation as much as what my mother did to me. So a lot of women, a woman can do so much harm to a girl's life, any child, because they're the first people we know. They're like our gods, basically. They're who brought us into this world. And some people would look at their mother and be like, how my mother can possibly do this? She gave birth to me, I'm a part of her. They're not going to say that about the dad. They're not to say that the father doesn't matter, but you have your mother on this high expectation. And a mother can break her children or make her children. And as women in society, it's important for us to heal ourselves, to heal that, whatever it is, like trauma, anything. Like, if somebody shout on you, you take a man, like, you need to fix that. Like, really take on anything that comes at you, because we literally pass it on, and we could see it here manifesting. Trauma has manifested into this society now, and this is what we have.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents on that.
Thank you, Janosha. Thank you so much for all the personal sharing, Ashanti. I really appreciate it. And not just because it's important for you to say it on this platform. This information needs to permeate because so many persons can relate to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important for us to look at the outlet and the manner in which that we can go about healing and approaching our wholesomeness.
Yeah.
Janosha, you had your hand up. You want to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to share. It's so funny, but nothing is a coincidence. This morning I came across a video about healing your inner child, and it speaks about directly, directly me, or the person. It was about, picture your mother or your father as their 5-year-old self, healing her, healing abandoned, healing ashamed by their parents, and picturing them and what they may be feeling can give you a sort of understanding of what made them or how throughout lifetime. That is what was projected onto us. So, the practice, or the practice of healing, that was you know, picturing them with a sad face or crying and then smiling at them, give compassion within that moment. And then you can heal yourself based on, whatever you went through. So I thought that was such an insightful thing to come across today. And I sent it to so many people because I was like, we all need this. We all need to be able to picture our 5-year-old selves or our parents' 5-year-old selves, or even if you are remember in our youth thought of negativity that
Oh,
we go from.
you're breaking up there, sis. Go ahead.
Hear me? Yeah,
Okay.
I should all picture our parents or our 5-year-old selves or younger selves as far back as we can remember. And, just give that younger child that real okay, grow, you'll think do better to allow.
You're going in and out, sis. You're going in and out. But
But
I think, yeah, I think you just froze. But I thank you. That's such a good point because, like we've said before, we see our parents as grown with the expectation of a certain level of maturity and that type of thing. We don't envision them as children, and that's a crucial part. Nadia, yeah, you're muted.
Can,
You're muted, Nadia. Okay,
Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I'm just here listening to everybody share about their moms and their parents and their trauma. Um, for me, I would agree with what the everybody is saying. I mean, our parents went through their share of whatever they went through, and that is something that I try not to do. I mean, dealing with my mother on the level that she is now, for me, I get a more my it's like a more negative concept on things. Most of the times, I mean, to have a conversation, it's like something negative. And sometimes I would stop and I would ask her, but then I would stop and think, where's all this negativity coming from? But sometimes she herself is like, because growing up, it's not something that, as I say, they don't talk. So now in the age that she is in, it's like she can't tell me. So it's like she's just projecting this negativity and trying to source where it's coming from because again, she don't talk about things. So you're left like, okay, I'm just gonna have to bring the positivity into the space whenever I encounter that negativity to try and bring a balance because I can't get it out of her to know what's going on. But then I bring the positivity. So I think I kind of bring a balance to it. But everybody has their issues. I mean, some share and some hold on to it. So that's
I
just
agree. I
yeah.
want to
can I get
highlight.
some?
I know I'm coming to you there, King. I'm
Okay,
highlighting
respect.
your buddy's comment. I wish this live could be broadcast in the sky for the whole world to see. This is some powerful reasoning. You're changing lives. Thank you so much, Adine. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. Go ahead, King. What you got?
I'm actually having a kind of emotional time. Yeah, actually. You're saying because it kind of does take me now to really sincerely considering, just how our parents were brought up. Now, my old man is 80 years old, right? And I visit my old man during the COVID time. And we weren't talking about anything to do with his parents, but he seemed to have a lot of trauma as it relates to his relationship with his dad because he has not even been hugged by his dad in his whole lifetime.
Wow.
You understand? And I'm listening all of this, and I'm getting a little emotional, even teary eyes, just listening to this, just considering him. All we've been talking about the moms so far, but on the dad side, there's serious stuff going down there as well.
Truly.
You see, and my dad would just start talking and just lamenting about how his father never embraced him and stuff like that. You understand? And he carries that. He's 80 years old. He immersed himself in Christianity, going in the Bible, I guess, as they say, when mother and father forsake you, turn to the Almighty. And I guess he went that way, and that brings some stability to him and some sense of security in his upbringing. But it still bothers him that he was not embraced by his father. He was the first for his father, but after him, his father had another set of children with his wife. And daddy feel like among his siblings, he's the one that was not treated properly, was not embraced. You understand? And so he's carrying that burden, 80 years old, and he's still carrying it. You understand? Now, with me and my son, I mean, we're close from the beginning. From before he can talk, we play. You know, we don't meet unless we hug. No time, to the extent that I went and visit daddy and I started hugging him. Because of the relationship that I was having with my son. Because I never do that with my father either, and he never come and say, yes, son, and hug me like that and so on. But I was seeing how he was affected by his relationship with his dad. And so I tried to make a conscious effort to do that, to go, you know, I meet the old man and I just go and hug the old man. You know, when we part from one another presence, I go and hug him in the same way and so on, just like I do with my son. You understand? So I'm really listening this thing and it's really setting in on the low. You understand? Really emotional life. And it's carrying me now to even think about going and having conversation, even with my mom, because we never have any conversation about how she was brought up and what she might have gone through. You understand? So to me, this is a topic all by itself, Rasta. You understand? It really should be a topic that explores some more, because I'm sure I'm feeling here while being on the panel that this thing is resonating, going out. It's going out like that for a lot of people. You understand? I can feel it right now. You understand? And yeah, this is really something that I guess all of us as grown up in the work period and all the rest of it now should really, you know, take some time to really reflect on these things with our parents. You understand? Because some of them really don't get the kind of love that we get. And my dad is a very, very loving guy, notwithstanding. But that element still bother him at 80 years old, Rasta. That speak volumes. You understand? So really, this is a loaded topic right here by itself. And I'm sure that this is resonating with a lot of people, Jed. This, you know, we really should have a lot of tender feeling towards our parents when we consider things like this, you know. I mean, it's serious stuff, you know. It's serious stuff.
Very, very.
Let me just add, Saran, with what Ras Isern is saying. We, as the woke generation, we have to create that change, because even with what he said in hugging his dad, that is something that I had to implement, because growing up, I can't recall my parents, well, at least my mom, hugging me like that. I used to get all of that. God rest his soul, my dad is no more. I used to get all that from my dad. He used to hug me, he used to tell me he loved me and all of that. But I never got it from my mom. So it's like when I go and see her, when I see her, I make sure I hug her, I tell her I love you. I can recall the first time when I became conscious of that and I told my mom, I love you. And she's like, she paused and then she was like, I love you too. I was like, wow. You You know,
Yeah.
so I really try to implement that. So every time I see her, I give her a hug. When I'm leaving her presence, I give her a hug, let her know I love her. And I've seen her soften up to that. So
Mhm.
as the growing children now, we have to really come on board and bring that change, because
Yeah,
if we don't bring it, majority of the time we're not getting it.
that is true. And I just
Yeah,
want to,
Nadia.
give thanks for all the sharing. I really didn't expect to go in this direction, but I think it is so necessary. I think too often we forget how close we are to the traumatic situation that we experienced during slavery. We're very, very close. I know for me, I can literally look back and I can remember my great grandfather, and he was born at the end of slavery here. So when you think about that, we're just generations away, and yet without any healing, without any counseling, without any reconciliation about slavery, we have an expectation of our parents to be fully functional. When everything, the basis out of what they existed from now is complete dysfunction. I think, I mean, when we remember who we are, we're not just supposed to remember the powerful nature that is in our DNA, which is there, undeniable. We're still here because of that power. However, the damage is also still there. And as we mindfully connect the dots, we must realize that whether if you don't see any dysfunction in your family, you probably the most dysfunctional one, because it's there. None of us can escape it. Yes, for some of us, Joe, I know we've had this conversation. We've talked about our childhood, and when I spoke about mine, it sounded like heaven on earth to you, that type of thing. But the damage is still there,
Yeah.
still there. And it gives you such a beautiful perspective when you can remember this, so you're not as quick to judge. And just like Nadine said, I mean, the messenger, it's us. It's us who are expected to emanate the information out right now, because it's needed. And the truth is, they're not, doing shadow work and so in their 70s. They're not doing that. And what is the reason for us learning, okay, shadow work and things like, if you ask somebody 70, they don't know what in the world shadow work about. But
I got a
we,
funny story to share with you guys when you say they're not doing shadow work. So,
mhm.
okay, so dysfunctional family. I'm sure we can go into stories forever. I got to give you guys a little background, but I ain't gonna get. So we messed up. I'll say that.
Yeah.
And my grandmother has a lot of sisters and brothers, and one of their resolve for marital relationships is shoot him in the foot. Okay, so one of my aunts who had shot her mate in the foot for discipline, her sister, her two sisters are now forced to live together. One of them had her hip replacement at about 70. She's 90 now, but her mind is still good and her body was still good. But the hip replacement, they expect for her to deteriorate by now and not need any of the issues that come with having that foreign material in your body. Anyway, I got a 90-year-old auntie and an 86-year-old auntie living together. Neither one of them can take care of each other to the way they need to take care of it, but they're so stubborn, nobody wants to go to a nursing home. So my aunt, who has three children of her own, she's 72. She's moved in with them, but she's a monster of a woman. Okay, monster of a woman. They get in a physical altercation because the 86-year-old
What?
auntie tried to jump on the 72-year auntie because the 72-year auntie got slick at the 90-year-old auntie, right? When you talk about not doing
You
shadow
shouldn't
work,
be laughing.
this is the thing. They over there cussing, fussing, and fighting, and they try. So one of the other aunts, who's maybe about 69, is trying to rally one of my cousins, one of my group of peers' cousins, to go and mediate the conflict. But we all have gotten to the point where we doing the work. You know what I mean? And we don't want to be a part of the mess because we're not trying to go back there. So they kind of on their own. They on their own with it. And the reason why I say it like that because they're real sharp in the head. Like I don't think they have a concept of that they're older and that they've aged. You know what I mean? That they're 90, 86, 72, still fisticuffs. I mean, this is the culture. It's always been that. It's the type of aunt where, you can't be honest, you can't speak, speak when spoken to, that type of thing. So it's interesting to watch, especially we young folk who just sitting like, oh, that's what y'all going through.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, over there. You gotta go through that. Don't have any idea how it would end. Of course, I went to try to juice for her to get her health together when she was having some issues quite a while ago. And she told me that if my auntie was going to die, just to let her die. And she didn't want all that health food stuff over into her environment. So she hasn't really dealt with me since. So, yeah, it's like that. So,
What's the thing?
while we're here doing the shadow work, let's go ahead and do the shadow work because it won't age like fine wine. It does not get better with time. It don't get better with time.
True.
Let me tell you one more story about Mr. Hamilton. It was my daughter's kindergarten teacher. He lives not too far from us in a community. Like maybe he's probably about 1,500 feet from us at most. So we'd seen quite often walking to and from the store or whatever. The last time we seen Mr. Hamilton, we said, oh, Mr. Hamilton, he doesn't look like he's doing too well, right? We never seen Mr. Hamilton after that, right? The next time we heard from Mr. Hamilton, they were excavating his home. He had been in his house for 9 months. He had decomposed to the point where he sat on his couch with his hat on, fully clothed, ate whatever meal he ate, went to sleep, and never woke up. Now, there were a couple people went to check on Mr. Hamilton because nobody had seen him, but they hadn't seen him. They looked in the window, still didn't see him. There was mess everywhere. The thing about it is, none of us were close enough to get in Mr. Hamilton's house or know any of his next of kin. However, Mr. Hamilton spent no time developing enough relationships or any efficient relationships to where somebody would really know to go check on him. By the time his family, whom he was renting the house from, came to check on him, he was, like I said, wasn't even skin. He was just bones and clothes melded together, laying there. So as we hear with our able body, for me, especially in relationships like I thought would be here forever that are not, and I have to start reevaluating what life will be like without relationships that I expected to still be in. It's like relationships are more critical now for us than they were to us maybe when we were in our teens or in our early 20s or whatever. And I don't think that we have taken in consideration how we really will need people other than my stomach is hurting terribly bad. I have a terrible stomach condition, so that's why I keep rolling back and forth. But how we'll need people in the future, and our cordiality will be a determining factor on who we will not be able to get along with and get around with. And like I was saying earlier, I think I have did so much damage, in my relationships, not because like my children, for instance, I can't expect for them to be here for me in my olden age, like tradition. And mainly not only because, nowadays we don't follow command like that where I'm from, children, they find their way and they go on. And not relying on my children, I almost passed away and left my children. So where they may have not been able to rely on me, I have to realize now that I won't rely on them, and if they won't be able to rely on them, and that's the case. It's like if you're not married now, and you may not be married, and that doesn't have to be a requirement for the relationships. But what relationships will you have? What relationships? Who will you do you focus your energy on building? A friend of mine, she passed away, and I'll give it for somebody else. She had a car accident. She passed away at 42. She left 5 children, her husband, to raise the rest of the children. And, he only had her. So it's like, we expect for our mates to be there forever, but there's no guarantees. What do we do in that case? And so I just wondered, like, for those of us who don't expect to be married or have no intentions on being married, what relationships will we cultivate, especially if we don't have children? What relationships will we cultivate for those golden years of our life, and how do we value that? And then, like, for people who have multiple partners, like, say, for instance, you're 42, you've had, 7 relationships or 5 relationships, even 4, or you're single now and you're on your 5th. Have you determined what are the factors that have, helped you evolve from those relationships? Are you the common factor of, dissension or contention or, issues in the relationship? It's, the eyes are made to look at. So, them flaws that we have, or, those things like why we had to break up in the relationship, like, do we really know? And one last thing, got to go back in. It's raining. So I was in a situation where I had been told quite like, oh my God, your personality, you're just too much. You're just overbearing. You're just blah, 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 blah. And I would be so offended by that. Oh, I would be so offended by that. But it wasn't to a point where I realized that I was too much for myself. I had to. Oh, sorry about that. So
You're running.
I gotta cut this screen off. Don't look at this environment. But seriously, let me tell you this. I had a situation where I was told about myself, and I was so offended by it. I was like, "Oh my God, how could you see me in such light?" But it wasn't until I got to experience myself in ways that I hadn't before that I realized that, oh yeah, I can be a bit much. And in understanding how I can be a bit much, I started to figure out or wonder what part of my habits or what hangups I could change, and which ones that I couldn't change, which ones were more helpful to who I was trying to be, and which ones were more harmful. And when I got to the end of where I was going, I've come to say that, it's best. I can be 100% honest with myself. It's best that I probably, leave. There are works that I have to do to myself to where it would be injustice to try to align myself in an intimate relationship with a mate. A mate, you know what I mean? Like a partner in some regards, because there's certain things and certain works that it would be totally unhelpful, to expose someone to. And I know that now, you know what I mean? Like before I wouldn't know that, but it took me to have an experience where I had a man trapped on a roof. He was on a roof. He didn't want to be on that roof, but I was able to encourage him to get on the roof. But after he got off the roof, he had to sleep for 3 days, and it was in that point that I realized, oh, you're thinking that you are being helpful, but yet you're harming folks, and it's all because you have your own intention or agenda or whatever. And so that's where I've come to see there's so much personal work that has to be done that
Truly.
I don't have time, you know what I mean, to really focus on being the ideal partner for somebody else, I got to make sure I don't kill myself. You understand what I mean? I have to make sure that my habits and behaviors are not destructive to that which I claim is my goal, you know?
Yeah.
And I got electrocuted. I was electrocuted with 10,000 watts. I'm a wise woman,
I
but
remember.
discern failed to use discernment in that position. Now, you know, it's one thing to put yourself in a position where you got 10,000 volts going through your body. It's another thing to put somebody else in jeopardy. And that's it's an example of the shit we send people through thinking that we got it all together. Yet we not only a detriment to ourselves, but we're really a detriment to the people that, you know, we're around. You know, so that's just something that I
Thank you, Joel.
Yeah.
Peace and blessings, Lydia. Hi, Shawnee. Hi, Smiley. Hi, Keisha. What's up, goddess? How are you? Hi. It's late. We've been at it for a long time. We've been at it for a long time. And I think in the interest of time, we should sign off. Hopefully we can do a mixed panel, you know, pull another conversation together, because now more than ever, I think the information is needed, required, and urgent. You know, I look at my spread.
Listen,
and wisdom.
as we're winding down here, I like to say to not only the panelists, but to all the listeners, all the viewers out there, you understand? Because this topic is a really positive topic in terms of the focus on the parents and the things that they would have went through. You understand? Let's make a commitment. A hug is a very powerful thing. It's a very healing thing.
It is.
And I like to say to everyone, let's make a commitment to give some hug and some love to our parents, Jed, because they go through tough things, you understand? They go through really tough things, and this is a way that we can help them, even at this late stage, you understand? To have some healing too, you know? To say, I love you, to hug them, to even just have curious conversation with them about how they were brought up and stuff like that. I think we really should do stuff like this. You know, take care of the old people and them. You understand? Take care of them, because they have stuff that they're still carrying up to now. We're busy out in the world with all kind of gadgets and stuff, but these people are there and they need healing. And as I say, a simple hug and an I love you can really go a very long way. So I just like to say to all the viewers that, yeah, just make a commitment to be this kind of loving way with our parents, you know? Yeah.
I appreciate that very much. And I would even go further, Isa, and I know that you're doing plant power detox with me now. And so, you know, the detox gem for today was what? Hugging. So I will limit it not just to parents or for older persons. I think it's necessary for us to remember what happens when we hug. That radiance, that exchange of beautiful energy. Sometimes people younger than you desperately in need of that.
True.
You know, so I would piggyback on exactly what you said as an assignment or as a takeaway for us to really engage with each other in a more loving manner. And sometimes it can start with a hug, being more expressive. If you love somebody, I know you're doing the detox, so you already know. If you love people, you're expected to express it.
True.
You know, we're too busy sharing conversation. We can talk about politics, we can argue religion, we can argue this and that, but the basis or the foundation of our mission here is to love. And I think we often neglect that role, and we just assume that, okay, if I love you, you're supposed to just know. You know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
It's important for us to verbalize it, express it, hug each other, love upon each other, because guess what? How long are we going to be here? None of us can do that.
that's how I greet people that I am associated with. When we greet, I don't want them high or not. Come give me a
Right.
hug.
Yeah. Well, just add one more little thing in and to underscore what you're saying in terms of not only just hugging the parents. My son that I have this kind of relationship with over time, I can tell sometime when he comes that he is looking for his hug. He will stand at the door and he's waiting for me to come and approach and hug because he wants that. That does something for him that
It
he
does.
doesn't express in word, but you can tell by the fact that he just stand waiting for it that it means something to him. It resonates with him, you know?
Thank you. Thank you. And Smiley added, she said, touch one another at the back of the neck. Queen, you ain't talking nothing but the truth. The trauma was passed through the womb and it will continue until we find truth. Truly. When Erica Badu say, kiss me on my neck, real thing. I want to say a special thank you to everybody for taking time out of their day. I know it's Sunday, it's family time and that type of thing for most of us, but you have all sacrificed your time to join the platform, and I'm super grateful. I want to say, yeah, we have work to do as a people, and I know Odane said that this really should transmit um, globally, and I'm in agreement. And it starts with each of us just taking from this conversation the needed energy and radiating that to the persons that we come in contact with. I want to thank you so much, Janosha, Joa. And by the way, Joa, if you remember me telling you about a queen in Antigua who reminds me so much of you, strong, y'all about the same size. Both of y'all have sister locks and full of energy, can do, yeah, all the fitness stuff. Both of y'all built very similar. It's Janosha. Janosha, that's Joa. Y'all remind me so much of each other. Ashanti, peace and blessings to you. Thank you so much. I saw your spread. I went to Natural Liberty yesterday, but I went before you came. I was
Yeah.
actually looking forward to supporting. And for
Oh.
those of us in Antigua, Ashanti will be at Natural Liberty every Saturday. Every Saturday, right? So
Yes,
if you're
every
looking
Saturday.
for all of your goodies, your cheesecake and all that, the plant-based version done right, hit up Queen Saturday's Natural Liberty down at Botanical Gardens. Nadia, my sister and my queen, I know what you mean when you say you don't want no high, because your greetings are always so full of light and full of energy. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Again, Kings, for those in Antigua, an anal steam is a good thing. Let me just throw that out there. And Empress Nadine got your hookup. All right. Gavin, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to spend with me. And I appreciate you greatly. Please give give your mom greetings to me. I haven't seen her in years, but yeah, I
Same
still
here.
remember the tea and Kernan days.
No problem.
All right. Hi, Saran. Peace and blessings, King. You're doing the detox, so you already know we're supposed to be feeling light and energized, and the energy, I do hope it's of benefit to you. I want to thank you for your contribution. I want to thank you for everything that you have shared also in the group. Peace. Much gratitude. Wind. I nearly called out your whole government name, little while. Thank you. Gratitude from top to bottom and everywhere in between. Everything that you have done for me, it doesn't go unappreciated. Thank you so much. The conversation continues another time because I think there are so many things that we didn't get an opportunity to touch on. However, I know everything in divine time, what was shared today was exactly what was supposed to be shared. One love to the panel and the Wellness Queen. Appreciate what you guys do for us as a people. Thank you so much, Smiley. Peace and blessings, everybody. Do have a powerful week. Next week, we're going to have another conversation again, 6 o'clock sharp. Not sure what it's going to be yet, but just know it's going to be something designed with the intention to uplift our people as we continue to do our work because we have work to do. Okay? Pick up the baton and go and spread the love. Peace and
Give them
blessings.
hugs.
All right.
Love and
Bye.
respect all one.
Blessings.
Blessings. Bye, Lioness.
Win. Respect King.
Likewise, likewise,
Yes,
brother.
yes, I. Gavin. Love same with Rasta. And of course to the Queens, you don't know.
So we must link, man. We must link.